Hello, friends. It's Chapo.
Now we're giving the message, but nobody's hearing it.
Yeah, I saw what happened. It's horrid. You're being trivialized, and you're in the soup, and you're being like put through the meat grinder. There's a new documentary on George Carlin on
Mm-hmm.
HBO. It's in two parts. Each part's like almost 2 hours long, and you watch it happen. You in that documentary, the same thing that happened to Devo happens to Carlin, and he starts to appear on these variety shows, and he's completely like beside himself, and he's being destroyed by these goons. You know, yeah,
You mostly just want like do a funny clip and then promote the next album type thing.
yeah,
You know?
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Your most recent show, you had a video, or the show we saw, you had maybe a new addition to the video package. At least it wasn't there when I saw you
yeah,
guys at Riot Fest last
yeah. The senior
September.
citizen version of Rod Reuter.
Yeah, exactly. And you play the original clip of this satirical video you did, I
Right.
guess, in the '70s of you meeting the
Yeah.
record exec and him kind of giving you the business. And now you have the
Yeah.
update of the same guy.
Yeah.
You know, I just could you speak to your experience in the record industry and like you having this project and having to deal with these guys who are like, no, it's just business. We're selling units.
It was. I never made up one line that Rod Reuter said in all of our interstitial videos that we shot back then, starting in 1979. Anything he said was said to us or me
Mhm.
by executives.
We got ideas. Here, relate to this. Devo dolls. Our boys down in merchandising didn't miss a trick. We even got your jumpsuits. We got them going into all the discount stores. I can forgive you guys for being artists, but I can't forgive you for being... I'm not telling you what to do. I'm telling you what you're doing. You're begging for the barrel room.
And all I would do is remember it and go home and write it in my notebook. And it's fantastic. You can't make that stuff up.
Yeah, that stuff about you guys, you know, I could get any number of pretty girls in here any day, and you're just not the type of girl I'm looking for today.
Yeah,
That kind of
you're not
thing.
my kind of girl. Yeah.
My favorite part of the Rod video is that the updated, like when Rod in the present day. There's a part where he's turned control of the record company over to his shithead son.
Yeah.
And I was elbowing Chris so hard because I was like, man, like these guys still have it dead to rights about who's in charge of our culture now. Because like Rod's son is portrayed as this like awful like hype beast, fitted hat, like
TikToker,
yeah, TikTok kid.
A white privileged guy that pretends he's black. Yeah.
Who got the record company from his father. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. The way it really works.
So yeah, I mean, we're talking about the videos and like costumes, video, multimedia has always been like an essential element of the Devo package. It's not just the music; it's a whole thing. And you know, this might be a kind of reductive way to say this, but you know, do you think it's necessary to wear a costume to be a great rock band? You know,
well,
or you know, is what Devo wears even a costume?
Well, everybody's wearing a costume, even when they think they're not, right?
Right.
What about, Pembleton plaid shirts and ripped jeans? That was a costume. Everything's a costume. What band didn't wear a costume?
Right. So I want to talk a little bit about the idea of punk rock. And I've heard you say that rock and roll doesn't change the world. It just reflects and magnifies what's there.
Pretty much.
So, punk comes along and you guys are kind of like lumped into this movement, which is a lot of different things there. And it's kind of portrayed, advertised as this revolutionary overthrow of a kind of stodgy moment of corporate rock.
Yeah.
I don't know. How did you feel about Devo being thought of as, this in the same as those like, Class of 77, CBGB, Ramones style bands?
Yeah, it was an accident of timing, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're doing what we're doing at the same time this movement starts, and of course the business people that want to package and make money from that movement label it, and so there's punk and there's new wave, and
Right.
Devo's in there, right? And I suppose because of the energy of our music and the stridentness and somewhat anger, there was some anger, but not like punk anger. Punk anger was nihilistic and anti-intellectual. Uh, in fact, a lot of punks were white nationalists. They were,
Yeah.
and Devo, we were punk scientists. We embraced ideas. We weren't anti-intellectual, and we were mad about pretty substantive things. Our grievance wasn't because we were white or working class. It was because of the wholesale injustice of the world, right? Of the hypocrisy, of the duplicity. And so then we got lumped into new wave at the same time. And I thought, well, that's all right, because at least we are what's new about new wave. We didn't sound like a 60s garage band.
Right.
So, and we weren't wearing white shirts and black skinny ties. So we were at least original. So we were what was new about new wave. And frankly, unless they can dismiss you or trivialize you, you don't have a chance. Somebody asked Bob Dylan back when, what do you think? How do you feel that most people don't understand your big hit like a Rolling Stone at all? And he goes, oh, I'm relieved. I'm glad, because if they did, I wouldn't be successful.
I mean, did you feel that way a little bit about Whip It?
Yeah. They thought it was about beating off and sadomasochism. And when I tried to explain what it was about, we just bum them out. They're so bummed out.
You pride yourself on like being original and different, and also being somewhat a bit sarcastic, so smart asses, you might say. I'm wondering, like, were there any contemporaries of you guys, like any acts that when you first saw them you were like, wait, we need to step up our game, or inspired you, or influenced you in any way?
I think in terms of presentation, energy, and pure musicianship, there were a lot of instances like that. All through, I can tell you for me, when I saw David Bowie's Diamond Dogs tour, I went home and hid under the covers. I was so embarrassed at where we were at compared to that. I thought, oh my God, should we just quit? Or, it was an alarm. It was a, 3-alarm fire emergency. Like, okay, folks, we're not even close to ready for prime time. We got to work. And that was the first one. And there were other.
That's a scary feeling in the time, but like looking back on it now, do you think it was a necessary one? Like, are you glad that David Bowie blew you away that badly?
Oh yeah, it was a call to action. It's like, oh, who do you think you are? Did you see what that guy did? If you think you're an artist, you better get serious now. And I did get serious. That was 74, and right at the end. And that was a wake-up call, and it changed me. And then I think, when I saw the Damned and I saw the Ramones in New York, like a year before we got there, I thought, oh my God, okay, these guys have taken what they do and they've taken it all the way. And that's what it's about. You have to do what you do, and you have to take it far enough. When you think you've gone too far, you haven't even started. You really got to take it far enough. And they did.
I mean, that's what's so funny and fascinating, interesting about the Ramones, is that what they do is simple, but it's so conceptually pure,
fantastic.
Which is, then conceptual purity is like also one of the great things about Devo.
Absolutely. Their minimalism, their focus. Basically, they had one song, right? It didn't matter. It was just variations on a theme, but it was just a perfect presentation. The sound of the guitars, just the right amount of distortion, just the right amount of BPMs, and just a hypnotic repetition of the rock and roll beat. It's incredible.
We've been talking about punk, and you mentioned earlier, the kind of nihilism of punk that you think that you felt Devo was opposed to, or worked in different direction from.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of sarcasm in Devo's music. Yeah. Do you think there's a lot of hope or any hope?
Well, I suppose there was hope in the sense that there was a sense of humor behind it,
Mm-hmm.
and because there's a sense of humor, that betrays any pose you might be trying to act like there's no hope. You're definitely there's hope because
Mm-hmm.
you're bothering to do
Yeah.
it.
And I always certainly thought of songs like, Gates of Steel as a call to action of
It was
you know,
anthemic,
there's-
yeah,
yeah, there's a possibility of triumph over the conditions that we laid out,
correct,
you know?
correct. It's human nature. It's human
Yeah,
nature.
exactly.
You can't help it. You can't help it.
I will get back to that sentiment in just a second, but I'd like to talk for just a second about Ohio because, as I mentioned before, I'm from Ohio. I grew up in Cincinnati,
Uh-huh.
and Devo, you've always centered the coming from Akron, and I think on this show we often come back to Ohio as kind of a semi-mythic place in America, maybe ostensibly the most normal state, and that makes it the weirdest state. So, would you say that there's an essential Ohio-ness to Devo's music?
Absolutely. I think so. Ohio is a real anomaly because it's not really the Midwest. It's not normal at all. It's a pressure cooker of insanity. I mean, you know how many serial killers came out of Ohio? I mean, but do you know how many exceptional people came out of Ohio? I mean,
Mhm.
Ohio's a good place to be from if you can get out of there.
I agree, sir.
And it's boot camp. It's boot camp. If you can survive the abuse and trauma that you go through in Ohio at the hands of quote normal people, right?
Yes.
Of like just the repression and the censorship and the lack of respect, and if you can do that, you're really strong. Now nobody can crush you when you're from Ohio.
I agree. So just to go back to that sentiment about human nature,
Yeah.
I guess when I first started listening to Devo, I imagine the band's role as, warriors kind of fighting against de-evolution, warning about it. As you said, the canaries in the coal mine earlier.